Iceland, home to northern lights, giants and sheep. This is the history of Iceland. As an island nation, history starts with discovery. Around the 7th or 8th century, Celtic monks are believed to be the first to sail to Iceland. This makes it one of the last large islands to become inhabited by people. However, the Celtic settlement didn't last. During the middle of the 9th century, Norwegians often traveled to Shetland and the Faroe Islands. Some of the travelers drifted, of course, and arrived on Iceland. While the first Norse to arrive on Iceland is disputed, some believe it to be Nadot from Norway. He referred to the island as Snowland, but as you all know, a way more creative name was needed. Floki Wilderson was perhaps the first who sailed to Iceland on purpose. He explored the island, and when seeing a large valley of ice, he is believed to have coined the name Iceland. Not too many years later, the first settlement on Iceland was established in Reykjavik by a Norwegian chieftain. Reykjavik roughly translates to Smoke Bay. The smoke is due to the geothermal conditions found on Iceland. During the following years, several other chieftains arrived with their families and slaves, and the population rose gradually, with the majority emigrating from Norway. In the year of 930, the Althing was established on Iceland. The Althing was a judiciary and law-making body of chieftains. The laws weren't written down, but memorized by the law speaker. A common law was established on Iceland based on the Norwegian Gulating law. A nation was formed, the Icelandic Commonwealth. Later during this period, a young Norwegian arrived on Iceland together with his father, who was exiled from Norway. The young Norwegian later became known as Eric the Red, and when he was exiled from Iceland, I guess exiling runs in this family, he established the first settlement on Greenland. Eric the Red's son, Leif Erikson, who was likely born on Iceland, sailed from Greenland to North America. This made him the first European to discover America. A settlement named Vinland was established in what is today known as Newfoundland. However, the settlement didn't last for reasons unknown. The Icelandic worshipped pagan gods such as Odin and Thor. Even though they worshipped gods to be awesome enough to get portrayed as superheroes in our time, Iceland went through a Christianization process, and in the year 1000 it was decided that the whole country should be Christian by law. The following years are considered rather peaceful, and they started to write down their laws. During the 11th century, Iceland saw a centralization of power, where only a handful of families and nobles had the power. This eventually led to two opposing families fighting over power in armed battles. Several chieftains became vassals under Norway. This was done since the Norwegian king wanted to increase his influence over Iceland. Over time, the most powerful chieftains became vassals, and after decades of conflict, the Icelandic chieftains agreed to accept the sovereignty of Norway and established a union with the Norwegian monarchy. The Norwegian rule over Iceland came to an end when the Kalmar Union was established. The Kalmar Union was a personal union that joined the kingdoms of Denmark, Sweden and Norway under a single monarch, with Denmark as the leader. The union also included all of Norway's overseas dependencies, which included Iceland. Several bad events affected Iceland when they were under Danish rule. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and the Black Death are some examples. The Black Death is estimated to have killed 2/3 of the population. Iceland became weak, and during the early 1400s, the Hansa controlled Iceland's trade. During the 16th century, the Reformation came to Iceland. It was met with resistance in the beginning, as the Catholic Church was strong in Iceland, but the Reformation eventually succeeded. In 1602, the Danes established a trade monopoly with Iceland to weaken the Hansa's dominance. This monopoly led to poverty on Iceland, and in combination with several natural disasters, the population experienced several fluctuations. Another notable event from this period is the pirate raids in 1627, where Barbary pirates conducted several raids on Iceland and captured hundreds of Icelanders into slavery. Also another event is the eruption of Laki in 1783, which claimed 9,000 lives and 80% of the livestock, and the ensuing starvation led to a quarter of the population dying. In the beginning of the 19th century, Europe was ravaged by the Napoleonic Wars. Denmark was on the losing side. But when the two kingdoms of Denmark and Norway were separated by the Treaty of Kiel, Denmark kept Iceland as a dependency. Some decades later, Iceland experienced a mass emigration to the Americas, mainly Canada. The national romantic ideas from continental Europe also got a foothold on Iceland, and an independence movement emerged. Eventually, Iceland was recognized as a fully sovereign state, the Kingdom of Iceland. However, they were still in a personal union with Denmark. This meant that Denmark handled all the foreign affairs. Iceland remained neutral throughout the First World War. After the war, Iceland experienced some prosperity, but was then hit by the Great Depression. The Spanish Civil War also affected Iceland's economy, as it cut saltfish export in half. I suppose bacalao for Lent wasn't the main priority during the war. During the Second World War in 1940, Denmark was occupied by Germany, and Iceland had to handle foreign affairs on their own. They claimed neutrality. However, Great Britain invaded Iceland and occupied it the same year. This occupation lasted throughout the war. Great Britain defended their occupation by claiming it was necessary to stop Germany from occupying Iceland. In 1944, a referendum led to the official independence of Iceland as a Republic of Iceland. Iceland had prospered during the war and had managed to amass large currency reserves in foreign banks. In combination with the Marshall Aid from the US, Iceland built several facilities necessary to industrialize their economy. Iceland became a charter member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, in 1949, with the reservation that they would never take offensive action against another nation. From the 1950s to the mid-1970s, Iceland experienced a series of militarized interstate disputes with the United Kingdom known as the Cod Wars. These were a conflict where the Cods took to arms to fight for the freedom of all fish in the ocean. Well, I kind of wish for that to be true. The conflict revolved around Iceland's extension of fishery limits. The result was an extension of Iceland's fishery limits, thus making Iceland the victor of the Cod Wars. In 1994, Iceland became part of the European Economic Area, which further diversified the economy into sectors such as finance, biotechnology and manufacturing. Iceland was hit badly by the financial crisis in 2008, and Iceland's banking system collapsed, leading to Iceland taking large foreign loans. Today, Iceland's economy is on the rise, in part due to a surge in tourism. The population is around 330,000, and Iceland is one of the world's most developed nations. That was the history of Iceland. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, carry on. Or as the Icelandic would say, "Af fram með smjörin." I apologize for